Good evening and welcome to another episode of Tidbits. Tonight's episode is titled Project Engines, Tools, and YS Ownership. This is one of those videos that might run a little long, so if you're not into watching long videos, you might want to just bail right now because this one's pretty cool, I think, and it could run a little long. So, with that said, let's look at the table. So, on the table here, I've got what I'm calling my project engines, and I've been looking for some inexpensive engines to do some cleaning on, not necessarily to test cleaning solvents or anything like that, but basically to do bearing replacements on. What I'd really like to do is find some engines that are in decent enough shape to run a couple of times, or run at least one time, then swap out the bearings for Boca bearings, and see if there's any kind of difference at all. I know it's a very crude and quick experiment, but that's what we're going to do, hopefully anyway. So on the table here, I've got two engines that I've only featured one time on my channel, and these are OS 46FX engines, 40FX engines. I think I said 46, I meant to say 40. And the reason I said 46FX, if I said that, is because the 46FX was one of my all-time favorite two-stroke engines in the mid to late 90s and into the early 2000s. I had several of them, and I just flew the living crap out of those things. But in my estimation, and from what I understand, the FX series, and at least in my experience, was also the series from OS that was most prone to the nickel peeling of the sleeve. Now, I know that other engines have had that experience, but I've personally seen several. I never had one of mine do that, but I had other people send them to me, and I've seen it happen. So the 40FX is one. I've only done one run video on this channel, and that was many years ago, so somehow I ended up with two. And they were inexpensive and very, well, this one is not going to get run and compared because this one's really rough. And for all I know, both of these could have peeled liners. I don't know. We'll see. So this one is going to be a project engine just to clean up and see if I can use it as parts at least. This one, and because see, this one's is got a broken. It doesn't have the remote needle valve, a high-speed needle. It's broken off here, and of course this is missing a prop washer. And both of them, neither of these have exhaust, but I'll get to that also. This one is in much better shape. It's complete with the exception of the exhaust. And the only thing I can find that's not super good about this engine, I mean it feels like it turns over really well, is that the carb is locked up on it, which is no big deal. I can put a drop of oil in there and heat it real quick and it'll be good. Now it didn't come with this prop washer and nut. It came with a really small washer and a prop nut like that. But I managed to find in my bin, excuse me, actually what I did was I robbed this from a 45 FSR engine that I haven't gotten around to doing anything with, so for now it's going to reside there. So these engines came to me just like that. They don't have exhaust, but fortunately for me, I do have the actual correct exhaust here, the 873 exhaust, and some screws that I purchased. So that's where this is going to go. So this engine here is, I would say, once I get the carb freed up, is a runner. I can run it and then take some RPM readings, replace the bearings in it, and see if there's any kind of real difference. Now, the bearings I've got on order from Boca, I don't think they're the ceramic ones, but they might either be the high performance ones or the stainless steel ones. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look at my order form. The last of the project engines, and this one's really not much of a project. I mean, none of them really are, but this one is probably just going to be a parts engine. I'll clean it up best I can, and it'll be a parts engine. This one will be the runner and the donor, or we'll get spare parts from that if necessary. But if you look, real quick, let me go back to these two. If you look here, you can see the difference in color. What's going to be interesting is, this is the nicer looking one, obviously. What's going to be interesting is when I run this thing through the ultrasonic cleaner with that ZEP, I don't remember the numbers of it, the powder cleaner that Mike, a friend of mine, gave me, it'll be interesting to see if they both look the same after that. So that'll be one thing that'll be kind of cool. The next engine here, And maybe I'll do a whole separate quick look video on these. I'll probably do disassembly videos if that's of interest to anybody. This is an Enya 40X engine. Now I have had one of these before, and I think I've got several videos on the channel, but I mean, how can you turn down an Enya engine when you find one at a really reasonable price? And that's exactly what I found. Now this engine, oh man, it's got really good compression. This engine dates back to 1978. So this is a 1978 design. It's got an aluminum piston with a Dykes ring, but it's Schnurly ported, and it came complete. It comes with the exhaust, it came with a box, didn't have any instructions. So this isn't really missing anything, but high-speed needle is not in here, but it's in the box. But this engine looks really, really nice, and the person I bought it from had other engines, and had another 40X that was like twice the price of this. And they both looked very, very similar to me. I was like, well, hell, I'll take the less expensive one. So yeah, this will be yet another one that'll be a good one, because this is a runner now. It's got really good compression. This will be one that I can do some runs with, take tack readings, then repeat the same parameters, and replace the bearings with Boca bearings, and go from there. So that was the project engines. That was the project engines of this video. Now, let's see if I can move these out of the frame just a little bit, because I'm still going to need these for the next segment here. The next segment is talking about tools. And, you know, I work on a lot of engines. And even if you don't, and you work on planes, I mean, always having the right tool for the right job, the right tool for the job is a key thing. And I just bought a couple of sets of small mini wrenches. They used to be called ignition wrenches back many years ago. And that's what I've got here. Now, these are really incredible little tools. And you almost kind of need a set of miniature tools to work on engines anyway. But, so I bought an SAE set, and I bought a metric set. I'm going to put the SAE side aside, because all the ones I've got, all the engines I've got right here, and these were like $8 a piece on Amazon. It's like, how can you go wrong for $8 and getting all these wrenches? Now, probably most of the wrenches in this kit will never be used for my purposes, so I'm picking out the smallest ones here, and I'm going to show you exactly the applications that I would use these for and why it's so important. And then I'm also going to show you the wrong tools to use for these certain applications. And I have used these before, because in a pinch, sometimes you gotta have something. So let's just take this wore out here OS46FX, and you're like, well, how would you use this wrench on here? Well, guess what? If you ever have a fuel inlet nipple that's you need to replace, yeah, that's not the right size. We'll find one here that's the exact right size. There you go. 5mm. You can get on here with the opened end, and on this one you can get in here on with the box end. So I mean, carb work, OS carb work. Here, let me show you another OS carb that, where did that engine go? Right here. 40, this is a 40SF. So on the 40SF, it's got these throttle stop screw, and I'll see if I can show you that, maybe even zoom in more. Well, it's kind of got this little double nut thing. This one doesn't have a double nut, but some carbs have a double nut thing. So it's like one of those things where this thing just fits in there perfectly, and they always come really tight from the factory, so you can't just get on that screw and gronk on it. So you have to loosen this jam nut a little bit to be able to do that. And how many times have you tried to do this type of thing with this? Wrong. It doesn't work very well. Same thing with this. How in the hell am I supposed to make this work? So having the right tool for the job is so critical. So you can do your vents, you can do your throttle screw. Heck, let me show you what else you can do. Sato, or any 4-stroke engine, rocker arm screws. Now this is, this one 5mm happens to be the right size for that too. The rocker arm adjustment nuts. if you ever lose the ones that come with your engine, or you bought an engine that didn't have that, or you just plain out don't do your valves because you don't have the right tool, there you go. And so what I've got here is, that's the 5mm. Here's a, what's this one? 6. That's weird. It looks about the same. 6. I don't know that I would. Probably 5, 4.5, and 4 would probably be the most common, because as the size of the 4-stroke engine goes down, that adjustment nut size probably goes down. So tools. Now I'm going to talk about some other tools here that are not necessarily new, but man, have they saved my life so many times on working on engines. And one of them I've talked about before is this Harbor Freight Pittsburgh 26-piece screwdriver set, part number 96733. Highly recommend. I don't remember what I paid for this, $11, $14, I don't care. It was worth every penny of it, because this thing has so many things that I use. It's got cross-point screws here that may be JIS and Phillips. I don't know. They've got some kind of strange nomenclature on here. This one just says M3. Let's see here. It says VPZ1, CR, VPZ1. I don't know what that stuff means. I haven't looked it up. All I know is they fit what I need. And then, of course, this one I've talked about many times, which is the perfect size for Sato rocker arm pins, because I've talked about many times how important it is to have the exact right size for that. So you get that. So this tool, this set has really come in handy. We'll talk about Torx bits in a few minutes too, and then it's even got these little nut driver things, which sometimes they're a little bit better. I don't think I've got a carb here that would require that. No, but sometimes you've got the carbs with the pinch bolts, or that curved piece, and you just tighten it down. Well, a nut driver is the ideal tool for using for that. And where would you ever find just a small nut driver? If you ever just need one nut driver, it's hard to go and find one that's small. So this has got, let's see, what sizes are they? They're metric, I believe. But I mean, I always find one that fits the carb screw or the carb nut that I need. So I mean, this, whenever I'm taking an engine apart, this is what I pull out. One of the things I automatically pull out, use it a lot. Now, final tool I'm going to talk about. Nothing special about this brand or anything. This just so happens to be another small set of tools that I have. And the only reason I'm even mentioning this is Torx bits. So Torx bits can save your butt in so many instances, and in the last few months they've saved my bacon at least 2 or 3 times, and I'm going to show you why. So I've got this beautiful OS-FS or OS-25 FSR engine. This is an engine I bought 1.5 years or so ago. I've got 3 runs on it, 3 run videos and a quick look video or whatever. This engine came with a lot of cool stuff that wasn't stock to the engine, just other stuff that somebody had thrown in there. But I think the last time I ran it, I felt like it had some kind of in-play, which is unusual because I never really had in-play on a ball bearing engine like this. This is common for an FP or those plain bearing engines, but not for a ball bearing engine. So I was like, okay, well, last run I was like, okay, I'm taking this engine apart and I'm going to investigate this and see what the heck's going on. Never got it apart. And the reason was, it came to me with 2 screws in the head that were already starting to round out. I went on there, I was starting to take them out, and I was like, wait a minute, this one doesn't feel good. And I was like, went a little bit more, and like, ugh, that's not feeling so happy there. And then I had another one. As I was trying to take the head off, I'm like, crap. So I was like, I don't know what to do with this engine now, because I don't, it's small. It's not like trying to cut a slot in there would be very easy with a Dremel. So how in that, I just bailed. I bailed on this engine because it was like, it's such a nice engine, I don't want to screw it up. So I sat on it and sat on it and sat on it, and then just 2 days ago, I pulled it out because I happen to have another 25 FSR coming. Anyway, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try the trick that I had to use on my 240 Pegasus, because I had the same type of issue with that and yet another engine, which was heads that were not socket head cap screw heads that were not completely rounded out, but you could feel were starting to round out, and if you put the right size in there, you could feel a little jiggle, and I was like, oh, that's not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. So what I did was I found a Torx bit that would have been the kind of the next size, the right size for it, or maybe just a hair bigger. And I put it in there and I pounded it in with a hammer, with a ball peen hammer. I just pounded it in there. So what am I going to lose? And I heated it up and I pounded that Torx bit in there, because Torx bits I think have like, what, 6 points on them also? I think they're 6 pointed. Let me pull one of these big ones out so I can see and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so they're 6 pointed. So you start to have a screw head that's starting to wallow, not completely screwed up, not completely wallowed out, but starting to feel soft. Get a Torx bit and pound that thing in there. I mean, pound it in all the way. Bottom it out. And then heat it up in a little oil. And I was able to pull those screws out. And the other thing that was weird about that, one of the accessories or things that came with this engine, was it came with a whole new screw set. So it's like maybe the guy that sold it, or whoever, knew that it had an issue, bought an extra screw set for the engine, and then put it up on eBay or whatever and sold it. Maybe he knew. So anyway, I managed to take those 2 screws out by just pounding a Torx bit in there. And because the other thing is, everybody will say, well, just use an easy out. Well, go find an easy out. Go find an easy out that's that small. Tell me where I can get one. I don't need one now because I've got Torx bits. And if you damage or destroy the bit, who cares? Who cares? I mean, who uses Torx bits that often? I mean, in some applications there are some screws, but I mean, if it screws it up, it didn't seem to screw it up. I don't use Torx bits for anything other than extracting screws, and it worked really great for that. So, that's the tool thing. The tools that have really saved me, and some new tools that will just make life so much easier, because working on carbs with the wrong tools is just not pleasant. So, final segment of this is called YS Ownership. And those of you that watch this channel quite frequently will know that I just recently, a few weeks ago, got this engine from a friend, Ron, in Alaska. And this is a YS 50 ST. And I was saying in that video how enamored I am with this engine. Well, it turns out, fortunately for me, Ron had 2 of these, both new in box. So I was like, hey, I got a bargaining chip here. So I told him, hey, I'm really in love with this engine. And he's like, well, maybe we could work a deal. So I had an engine that he was interested in. We worked a trade, and the bottom line is I own this engine. So Ron had sent, because this is a helicopter engine that was either modified by somebody or it was actually an airplane variant. I'm not sure which, because Ron has 2 of these and both of them have a prop hub on there, and so a prop hub. So either these were just YS parts that came from like a 45 FSR or what, I don't know. All I know is it's really nice chromed out. It's sure as heck to me looks to be a correct YS part, but I mean, it's got a collet there. I don't know where this came from. All I know is this is configured as an airplane engine, and it's going to be run with a propeller on it. So the thing is, with that said, it didn't come with it didn't come with an exhaust. This engine wasn't sold with an exhaust, because if it was a helicopter engine, they never sell helicopter engines with exhaust that I've ever seen. So you always have to go out and get that on your own. So Ron had bought one, a Mikoa equivalent to this OS 873. And he sent that with it. Well, then, I think in that first video I showed this, I was like, well, I'm going to use this 873 muffler instead of the Mikoa one and open that up, because I was going to send it all back to him at that time. I didn't want to open something that didn't need to be opened if I already had an exhaust. So the bottom line is, I could run this engine with this exhaust. It fits. But I also found an engine, or an exhaust that I could borrow for a short time and run on this engine that might actually be a little bit better performance-wise, and that's what you're seeing here. This is the exhaust from my Tower Hobbies Pro 46, and it happens to be a perfect fit. So this is kind of like a tuned silencer a bit, so it's going to provide a lot more performance, I think, than this, and it's probably one of the reasons why the Tower Pro 46 and the GMS 47, which had the exact same thing, same engines, were so powerful and so awesome. It could have been one of the reasons is because of the exhaust on there. So what's going to happen here is when I run this engine, which I don't know when it's going to be, I hope it's soon, I'm probably going to run it with both. I'm going to do like a break-in run of some sort, and these are things I still haven't figured out, prop, fuel, etc. Break-in run or two with one of them, and then once it's kind of settled in a little bit, I'll do a run swapping the exhaust out to see if there's any difference and not changing anything. Maybe I'll have to change high-speed settings for a different exhaust, retune it a bit, but try the two different exhausts, so that'll be kind of a cool comparison there. So we'll see what happens. So that's all the cool and new and fun stuff that's happening on the bench. And right now the weather is so spectacular outside, and I'm just trying to figure out what engines am I going to put on the stand next, because I've got an empty stand right now. The forecast for the next week is spectacular, so there will be some engine runs taking place here in the next few days, so stay tuned for those. Thank you for watching.